We're talking Tin and Tina today, this weird little film that's currently playing on Netflix.
Spanish language film.
Yep, we're down the road.
Set in the 70s. Yeah.
Actually, 1980, 81, I think is.
Oh, you're right, 81. Yeah, it's like the same thing.
But we're, back in the realm of subtitled films. We watched one last week, Disappear Completely, or whichever one that one was. And here's another one. So I watched it twice. And let's find out.
You watched this thing twice?
Well, because remember, I had watched it last week after I sat through Completely Disappear or Disappear Completely again. Yeah. And then I saw it there on the next Netflix queue. Hey, you might like this. So I'm like, okay, let's hit play and see what happens. And then I watched it last night. But anyway, the most important part of the show. Gene, where are you at with Tin and Tina?
Tin and Tina. Yeah, It's interesting. Again, it's like we review horror movies, right? And so horror movies, to me, it's like there has to be some defamation. Horror movies, for me, I should do two things. Like good horrors, like some defamation or like some malformation of the human form. And then two, the movie should be a little disturbing to you. It's just like question your ideas or your thoughts, or or just question your humanity even, like it super grosses you out, even something like that, or it makes you just
uncomfortable.
Yeah, it makes you uncomfortable. Yeah, that's good horror stuff right there. And good horror, and that second criteria, making you uncomfortable, can be accomplished in many ways, But this movie, I don't know. Does it really do either? It's just, everyone kind of looks good. I mean, the female protagonist, she's missing a lower, was it right leg? Is that right? Lower right leg. So, but that hardly matters. But there's no really, I don't know if this movie questions your thoughts or choices. It's a super religious film. Mm-hmm. It's set in Spain. The husband starts with the two people getting married, and they want to have kids. But on the wedding day, like the woman, it becomes evident that she cannot have children. And so they decide to adopt, and they go to an orphanage, right? Uh-huh. I guess that's what she did back in 1981. Yeah, and there are nuns, and all the kids, of course, it's a convent, and it's run by nuns. And so all the kids have been heavily, I'm going to use the word indoctrinated, but, it's nuns, but it's not really indoctrinated. They're just sharing their life with the children. But as for a movie, this movie's not scary. It's just like, to me, it's like a drama movie. It's a drama movie. It has some really interesting ideas, some interesting themes, which we can talk about. But it's not horror, really, to me, on really any level.
And so
I guess Roger disagrees.
Well, the second part of your thing about horror movies wanting you to be feeling uncomfortable, there are absolutely sequences in here where that occurs. Most specifically, hey, let's baptize the 1-month-old baby. Right?
Well, I have to comment on that. It's like, I thought it was interesting, that she gave birth to a 5-month-old baby.
Right.
It's come on. That is not a newborn. I was in the hospital room as my wife gave birth to our two boys. That is not a newborn. That's like a 5-month, at least a 5-month. You don't give birth to 5-month-old.
I'm assuming there's pretty extreme rules about let's baptize this under 1-month-old baby in our little movie.
And so there's a sequence. The kids have just been taught incorrectly about the Bible.
They are very much taking it word for word.
Right. Yeah, and so they try to baptize the family, the husband and the wife. They're somewhat affluent. He's a pilot.
Yeah,
I'm sure he flies for an airline in Spain, right? And so they make good money. It's a good life.
No, their house is cool.
No, their house is great. It's a 2-story house, standalone house. Looks like the middle of like an orchard or something like that. Yeah, so it's a beautiful house. Yeah, and so but it has a pool, and a decent sized pool. And so the kids, it's kind of a miracle because she has the baby, right? Because if she was told at the beginning of the movie that she couldn't have children, and then all behold,
well, and that's one of the beauties of this film. I know Gene doesn't appear to like it too much, but there is a lot of, are these just creepy little religious kids, or are they actually on the right pathway with a lot of the things they're saying to this adopted mother?
Yeah, I think that doesn't relate, I think, to this movie. I think that's a general topic about Christianity in general, because Christianity, in a way, it's vagueness. Its vagueness allows multiple interpretations. But could you say, because the woman was told our medical science is super imperfect, even today, and this movie is set in 1981, she was told, oh, you can't have children, like absolute. And then later on, she has a baby. I mean, is it a miracle, or is it just that, the doctors misdiagnosed her at the beginning? I don't think there's really any evidence to one side or the other.
Well, but in this movie, though, because one of the things, so first of all, the two kids are
they're weird.
Very.
I would never have adopted those.
No one would have really, because they are pale white. Their hair, I mean, it's almost albino-like.
Yeah, and in Spain too, it's like
right, and
they could never go outside.
Right, and they are so indoctrinated, as Gene said, into religion that they have found a way to actually see God, at least in their minds, and they do that by asphyxiation.
Yes. It just is about just at the point where you're about to pass out. Mm-hmm. I guess you see God.
Right, and so they show their new mother this trick, because the new mother is not really a believer in God.
Not at all.
She also was raised in a convent, and then she apparently led a gypsy kind of lifestyle, and kind of fell out of the religious idea. And so the kids are aware of this, and so they're like, hey, well, we can see God. They do their little asphyxiation trick. And then later in the film, the young boy...
if I was that parent, right after seeing that trick, I'd be like, you're back.
You're out of here.
Right. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I in college, I knew there was a friend, and they were from Nebraska, University of Colorado. They had adopted a young woman, but they ended up giving her back. Mm. Yeah, because it just wasn't
Was
working.
She asphyxiating herself to see Jesus?
No, she wasn't.
And so, but anyway, the underlying outcome of that is the young boy is basically saying, I asked God for this miracle, right? And then the lady even says, the nurse is like, oh, it's a miracle that this even was able to happen. And so there's a lot of this where you don't really know, are the kids just really creepy, evil kids, or are they actually not creepy and evil? And that's the thing I like about this film.
Yeah, the film it goes back and forth about that, because at the end, after the big climactic scene, the head covenant woman,
right? Mother Superior.
Mother Superior. Thanks. I was looking for the phrase. Yeah, from The Flying Nun. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Mother Superior. She's adamant. The kids are innocent. They've always been innocent, but no, they're not innocent. I mean, you can be taught, definite Christian principles, but there is part of your brain that has to use a metaphor, that has like a stop sign. It's like if you're doing something, there is part of your brain that says, something, that's probably not a really good idea. And so what they want to do is, I guess they kind of start the movie. Of course, there's a dog, right? We've talked about the cinematic horror movie dog. And this dog doesn't like these kids from the beginning, because the dogs know, right? Mm-hmm. And so they take the dog. First they drug him, right? Using the mom's sleeping little pills, or not pills, but liquid drops. Yeah. And so they drug the dog sleeping, and then they stab him. I think take out his heart. you know, and then
they're cleansing his soul.
Yeah, they're cleansing it. Yeah, because he's barking at them all the time. And then they put the heart back, and then they stitch him up. And then the kids are like, he's not coming back to life. What happened?
Well, no, the best part about that is wait until mom sees this. Do you remember that line?
Yeah, of course.
Can't wait for mom to see this. And of course.
Yeah, but, it's like, no, I don't care how much religious teaching you've had. That's just wrong on every planet. Getting a knife and stabbing it into your pet, to try to
cleanse its soul because it bit mommy.
Wrong. Yeah, and then just the whole idea when they want to baptize the 6-month-old baby, they're sitting on the edge of the pool, and they're holding the baby upside down by its ankles. Really? Like, that's another stop sign for any normal human being right there. And then another one, you plunge the baby head first into the pool, and you hold the baby there. Like, you just don't plunge the baby into the pool, and then you bring it back up, which is a baptism. That's a baptism. But no, the boy, 10, I guess.
10, yeah.
He plunges the baby into the pool, and then he just holds the baby.
Well, because Tina's like, no, because he's saying, should I take him out? And he's like, no, we've got to fully baptize this kid. And that, to me, that was...
But to me, that's my point, I guess, is that should have been a stop sign right there. These kids clearly, I don't know if it's that whole question of the kids are innocent. No, they're not innocent, because they have sociopathic tendencies, or they are sociopaths, because that part of their brain that should say, oh, that's the inhumane thing to do, that's lacking.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that
they're not innocent.
The dog sequence, because the mother goes back to the Mother Superior and is like questioning her, have they done anything really violent or any of this stuff? And the Mother Superior is like, oh no, they're innocent.
Yeah, that was after the asphyxiation, right?
They're
and the dog, yeah.
Rays of light and all this. And to me, it's like she never did share this dog story with anybody. And I'm not sure why she didn't do that right there. Well, hey, they just cut open my dog, pulled its heart out, read some religious mumbo jumbo over the top of it, put it back in, sewed it up. Did you ever notice them doing anything like that, Mother Superior?
Yeah, it's kind of like is the theme. We see this a lot, in our culture, not just even today's culture, but I think this is a theme that's been prevalent throughout humanity, is that people who are sociopaths maybe use religion as a cover,
And she brings that up.
Yeah, they use religion as an excuse or an allowable reason why I did these things. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no,
and the kids are exactly doing that.
Oh, to a T.
Yeah.
But there's always this, except for the dog sequence, there's always this, like, are they super evil or are they not? Because even at the end, it's pouring rain and all this stuff, and they've given the kids back to the orphanage.
The orphan, yeah. After they drew the line at the baptism.
Yeah. Well, and the thing I love there too is the dad is like, okay, we've had enough of your religion, and he throws their Bible down and he lights it on fire.
Yeah, he soaks it with a lighter fluid. He lights it on fire.
Because the mother had finally had enough, a few months prior to this, and she had taken all their religious paraphernalia, the Bibles, locked it up. You can have this when you're older. She didn't want her newborn to be baptized because she's like, I want this kid to make a conscious, educated decision about religion.
Yes.
But the rest of the family overruled her, and they were
they had like a pretend vote.
Yeah. And the end, though, it's raining. The kids are back in the orphanage. But then there's this whole sequence, are they back in the house or not? Because, and so they set this stuff up to where, are they there or are they not there? And that's kind of the thing I really liked about this film, because at the very, very end, the father, of course, gets killed. But the mother then has decided to re-adopt Tin and Tina.
Right.
And then the last line of the movie is the mother saying, Amen. She's now reestablished her faith and all this. And I'm like, man, are these like Twisted Omen style children where they just go around and they're using religion to do all this horrible stuff, but to convert people into whatever version of their religion is happening here?
Yeah. I think another theme, excuse me, another theme of this movie is just isolation, especially the isolation of the mom, the woman, because the husband he works really hard. He's a pilot, but he's really detached. He's detached from even reality, because he comes home and like the dog thing, the kids kill the dog. That's
well, and not just kill it, mutilate that thing.
Yeah, that's 911 territory. That's the police. That's the sirens. This is not acceptable on any universe. But the dad is like, oh, let's they're innocent. They just made a mistake. Let's just move on and let's just forget about all this, and let's not talk about it anymore. And then tomorrow's just a regular day. What's wrong with you? And then I think it was super interesting because there was a sequence where, again, they'll go back to the baptism sequence. The dad is super into his soccer, right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. And so
it's Spain after all.
Right. So he hooks up his TV to, I guess, the cable to get cable feed, right, from the transmission lines, which seems sketchy to begin with, right? And this is what leads to his downfall. But anyway, he's watching his soccer right on his TV next to the pool, right? And then right over there by the pool, not 20 feet from him, those Tin and Tina are drowning his baby son. And he is completely oblivious.
Yeah.
It is like, but that's his character. Another thing is like they're at a restaurant. And this is really telling for me about that guy's character. And it senses the woman's isolation. She's got to make all the decisions. This guy has no help whatsoever. They're at a restaurant, and baby's crying. Is like, hey, why don't you pick up the baby? And he starts counting down 5, 4, like, you pick up the baby. And she's just eating her cool little pie or a little cake. She's just eating her cake. She just wants to eat her cake. Why don't you pick up the baby?
Well, she kind of tells him that.
Yeah, she says that. Yeah, she does tell him straight up. But he doesn't.
No.
Because I think he is of the mindset, everything related to the kids, and that's your job.
Yeah, and we're still in like 1981 where that still kind of was
that's taken that attitude to nth degree. It's like, come on, just pick up the baby, and you're in a public place.
Well, and the other thing I really like, too, is the kids have just massacred your dog. Your wife is there mopping up the blood stains.
I would have at least made the kids clean it.
And then, well, honey, gotta go. I'm going to be gone, overnight until tomorrow. I'll leave you with the creepy kids and the dead dog.
Yeah. This movie it has some interesting. You could talk forever about the whole religious thing, because I think religion, healthy religion is all about, following the examples, because you can get really weird with religion, and I think we've all seen this. But just follow the examples. It's a silly saying, but like that, what Jesus do kind of thing. It's kind of. It's a little instructive.
A little safer than what Tin and Tina were doing.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think any kind of topic or talk about religion has to delve heavily into the attitude of service, being selfless, putting other people in front of yourself, that whole attitude, very humble, very kind of, but you can use the word meek, but you're meek, but you're strong in your convictions. But there's none of that in this movie. It's all about, judgment and sacrifice. Judgment, sacrifice, judgment, Yeah, so Tin and Tina, that's all religion.
Well, and of course, the Mother Superior, of course, drops my favorite line, which I always look for in any sort of movie with nuns, is basically paraphrasing, but suffering is a requirement. Punishment is absolute, right? Yeah. Last time we heard that, I mean, Gene, you weren't here for it, but Silent Night, Deadly Night, the Mother Superior was absolutely using that line, because there is a great scene where after Tin and Tina have killed the dog, they've decided they have to do some penance there, and so they've strapped forks to their knees, and they're crawling around on their knees.
Yeah, and their knees are like just mutilated because the forks are. Yeah,
and it's like, okay, you didn't take the kids back after the dog got killed. why aren't you taking them back now when they're wandering around?
Robert De Niro in the movie the Mission, I think. Yeah, it's all about that. That's a very Catholic penance kind of thing. And I think she says that, no penance.
None of that.
None of that. No. That's just so, that's this kind of warped attitude towards God you can really get if you're just kind of don't have the right perspective there. Yeah. This movie's super warped ideas about faith and
right. And I do like this movie though. I liked the performances of the children. I thought they did great. I thought they were creepy and unsettling. I thought
they were who they were taught to be.
Yeah, and I thought the music score is also really neat. Once again, of course, I had to watch the film with my headphones on, but it plays really intensely during scenes of intense stuff happening. But then there's kind of this lightness, too, that goes on that's kind of replicating the 80s, like when they're driving back home with the two kids and all that. And so I thought it was a really
I like
interesting...
the scenes with the game show. There's like a Let's Make a Deal, but in Spanish.
Right. Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah, and so I just like the tone of this movie. I really like the last scene of the film where... Okay, I don't really know. I would love to see a sequel where it's just Tin and Tina creating more havoc. It
reminded me of the movie Hereditary, where a human being just explodes in flames. It's like, I don't know. People don't naturally burn, but I guess sometimes they do.
Well, and that was, that's more of this kind of keeping you like what's really happening because, of course, it's a torrential downpour. But the flames were not seeming to be affected on any level. And so what's happening?
Why are the flames not being extinguished?
He had burned their Bible. They were talking about how you reap what you sow, and now here he is on fire.
He got hit. He was outside the rainstorm, right? The power's cutting in and out. He loses his TV cable. So instead of like attending to the house, getting a flashlight, maybe putting candles out or... The baby's upstairs, instead of doing the fatherly duties, he's like, I'm going to go outside. I'm going to fix the TV.
I got to fix the TV.
I got to fix the TV.
Got his priorities.
And you just knew right there he was going to be dead. So I guess lightning hits him, catches on fire, and the house catches on fire.
Mm-hmm.
But Roger, we forgot a big thing about the kids' behavior. Remember there was a bully at school?
Yep.
Yeah. So the movie's good in that the movies, we've talked about this idea before of unreliable narrators. So the movie's very unreliable in that. But I thought it was interesting because the kids have these like crucifixes, right? And they're like the Jesus on the cross, and they've converted them to slingshots because the Jesus in the crucifix thing, Jesus has his arms up, but they put the ends of the elastic bands on both hands, and so they shoot the rock over Jesus's head at the target. But anyway, they're at church of all things, and this bully kid he stumbles in late, and is really injured, and he ends up dying. But it turns out, I guess he fell, right? Mm-hmm. He fell, and he hurt his head when he fell. But the kids, we know they have these slingshots because there's a previous scene about that. And so the idea comes up is that, well, did these kids actually kill this bully by shooting rocks at him with the slingshots? Which, did they?
Well, and
actually that explanation fits a little better than, he just fell.
Oh, well, right. And, of course, the mother discovered their little drawing where they were surrounding his bloody body and with their slingshots and all this stuff.
Right.
But it also is neat in how it sets that up because, of course, he's bullying them at school, calling them Draculas. They sleep in coffins and all this.
Well, because they're lily white skin.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they look vampires.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
And then as they're walking towards getting their communion or whatever down this dirt road, and he kind of is blaspheming in their mind, and so Tina is like, well, God will take care of this,
right?
And then something occurred, we don't know what, and
God is taking care of it because they use their slingshots on him. So it's got again, like interesting themes of like religion versus your personal responsibility, that kind of thing. Yeah. But again, I got to go back. Is this movie, like, to me, is it scary? It's a good drama for sure. Yeah.
I would
I don't know if
say
I would.
it's not scary. It is.
What is it?
It is
Horror?
disturbing, and I would put it in the horror category primarily due to the dog sequence and just the nature within which they are so ready to just cut that dog open. And
that's horror
and
elements.
all that.
Yeah.
And then of course,
and then clearly, I think horror. Obviously, like, sorry, to interrupt, but yeah, it works. Different people are going to react different ways, and so certainly to you, it falls into the realm. For me, I don't know. Maybe I'm jaded. I don't know.
And that's good. I mean, let's get you jaded, Gene, because of course we want you to get there. That was the whole point of starting the podcast.
So,
Gene, you're watching a horror movie every week.
Yeah, I know. It's like I want to be scared.
But I also think the disturbing nature of just how easily they would have drowned that baby had there not been last-second intervention. That baby was going to die.
That baby was going to be dead, right? And they were oblivious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think there's enough going on in here to where, I'm going to call it a horror film.
Okay. Yeah. Give it a shot. It's Netflix. It's just right there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, if you get to the dog part and are like, I can't watch any more of this, go ahead and turn it off. But I thought it was worth my time. Again, watched it twice.
I'm not watching this.
And I always like to do that for,
Yeah, you catch
podcast.
additional stuff, of course.
For sure. Gene, any thoughts on next week?
Well, I guess the final thing about this movie is like something that I probably, if it hadn't been for you kind of suggesting this, I wouldn't have watched it, because on the Netflix, they have the little pictures, blah, blah, blah. You look at them. I mean, it shows Tin and Tina, right? But to me, it's like they're not likable. They're unlikable characters. And so and even the husband's certainly not likable. He's and even the wife, none of them are really likable to me. So it's just like, what's you're not drawn in, you're not attached to any of the characters, like, is really, I think, necessary for really great horror. So because good horror, it draws you into the movie, because you like the characters. I think it's essentially ingredient in this movie. So I think seriously liking that.
So when I saw the Netflix screenshot of their creepy little faces, I'm like, okay, let's hit play on this one.
Really? Okay.
And,
so I'm just
are the characters likable? I can relate to the mother's process of reaching a conclusion in this film. She does share some of the backstory about how she lost her leg, which explains why she doesn't immediately jump to the aid of her husband when he's on fire. There's a lot of...
She's limited in her mobility, right?
Yeah, there's lots of... and plus it was also, how did she lose her leg? It was on fire. Everything was on fire. Her parents died in the fire.
Right.
So now her husband is on fire, and she's
kind of
recoiling, freaking out, looking for a blanket.
Yeah, she's looking for a blanket in a really strange place.
Yeah, I know.
It shows that she's not thinking right.
I think that was the trauma of... She was reliving the trauma of that fire, where for her it was more about, I got to just get out. And so there's a lot... So I was not anti her character at all. The father... To me, he was the standard, okay, here's the demon children. I'm kind of under their spell. They can do no wrong.
Oh,
that kind of thing.
I just thought it was his character, not really a spell.
Right. No, I know. But that's how I was looking at him.
Sure,
kind of
sure,
like Miss
okay.
Blaylock from The Omen, where, Damien's awesome, right?
Yeah.
And so I it didn't bother me that much. But I do think it's worth a watch if you have Netflix. Don't subscribe to Netflix just to watch this
Oh,
thing.
no.
But if you've already got it, give it a shot and just see what happens. It's kind of neat.
All right. Well, there you go. We'll leave it at that.
And I would be down for a sequel with Tin and Tina just causing more aggressive havoc.
They can make a sequel, but I'm not watching it.
But anyway, Gene.
Next week. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Not sure. Like, continue on the theme of like foreign horror, or maybe we should. We've never done. You really want to do Bride of Chucky? I really don't want to do Bride of Chucky. Maybe I'm okay with doing the first Chucky. I could do the first Chucky.
I
don't know if I've even seen the first Chucky.
Okay, well, it's called Child's Play, so
Child's Play.
yeah. Well, maybe we'll do that, but I love actually
maybe, yeah.
ending our show this way, where it's just something is going to happen next week. Who knows? We've thrown out Bride of Chucky, Child's Play, and it'll be something completely different. So, thanks for tuning in. We will catch you. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Our friend Scott was going to join us today, but he's finishing up his screenplay. It's on a new movie that he's writing.
Yeah. Hopefully. Well, I asked him, hey, it's horror, right? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, cool. We're waiting for it, and we'll review it on the show when it comes out.
Yeah. And I've created my own screenplay, and I've shared that idea with Roger, but somehow he's not happy with shooting outside. Although I think, what's wrong with just doing your movie outside?
Well, there's lots of complications to that.
I think if there's a will, there's a way.
Well, of course there is, and also the way is usually substantial amounts of money. So, anyway, we've got to get out of here. So thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next week. Bye.
Bye.